Hi, welcome back to the Affaircare podcast, and welcome back to our little series about reconciling after an affair. Today, we'll be going over the fourth step in the steps to reconciling after an affair. And just so you know, the fourth step is mutual united understanding. Okay, so what happens in a marriage? Issues arise. When an issue does arise, there are two viewpoints to the issue. Now, sometimes the two viewpoints are exactly the same, and the two spouses really do pretty much have the same opinion, and they understand each other. So at that point, no discussion is necessary. But there are also times when there's a difference of opinion, sometimes even a difference of what actually occurred. Sometimes even one spouse is unaware that an issue has arisen. So when a situation like that occurs, discussion needs to happen until some sort of solution is reached. The solution ideally should be agreeable to both spouses. So in order to facilitate that ideal solution, here at Affaircare we use this process called M.U.U, which is M.U.U, mutual united understanding. So the solution that is reached needs to be understood. That's the last U of M.U.U. Often in conversation, people will reach a conclusion based on assumptions rather than taking the time to investigate. Or, for example, they will also not define their terms. Maybe they are kind of vague in the way that they word the agreement, and then one guy thinks they agreed to this, and the other guy thinks they agreed to that. Then later on, one of the people will do something that's like entirely unexpected and surprises the other person, the spouse, and arguments and confusion result, and it's just a disaster. That's because somebody acted in a way that, and they're all upset because you acted like you ignored our agreement. Well, in real life, that could be the case, but it's also just as equally possible that there was not a full understanding of what was agreed. So, it's important to make sure when there is a discussion that both spouses fully understand what the agreement actually is. Okay, note that I said the word there, fully. Okay, to this end, I would encourage, when you're having a discussion, ask a lot of questions and explain your points fully. One common tactic that I have seen people use is that they will explain some of it because they don't want to give it all, because if they gave it all, they know their spouse would say no. So, no. Explain it fully, so make sure your spouse understands it fully. It is not fair to your spouse to leave out important details. And in addition, it also will damage your marriage. So, I personally encourage people to go ahead and repeat back what you think your spouse said, and if they say, yeah, that's basically it, you got it, then you understood. And then have them say back what they think you said. And if you can say, with enthusiasm that you agree and you accept what they said, why then they understand you. In addition to being understood, the solution must be united. That is, both parties must agree to the solution, and you would be doing it as a team. It's really, really harmful to your marriage to just simply, you assign a solution and then demand that your spouse fulfill your demand. So it also does not help for both spouses to come up with their own solution and then try to implement the solutions, without talking to each other. So you can see that often when you're working, when this ranges to create like an even bigger problem, because either one is being controlling and demanding that their side be done, or the two of them are off like individuals and they're not acting like a married couple, like a team. So the solution to any dilemma must be the same for both of the spouses, because it does, as a married person, what you choose to do and the way you act and your life affects your spouse. They are involved. They deserve to be, or it's a good thing to include your spouse and be a team. And then the most important element of this particular method is the word mutual. Although this is essentially a synonym for united, we use the word to indicate like a little bit of a different shade of the meaning. We mean that you most have to enthusiastically agree to the solution. Now, one of the ways that I personally like designate this one is that you approve of it and you accept it. So, yes, I approve of this, I endorse it, I'm behind it, and you accept it, meaning like I have made the choice to embrace it, and I'm going to push forward with it. So that's one way you can think of it. You have to both be enthusiastic about this solution. If one of you is like, I really want to do this thing, and the other one really kind of doesn't, and eventually they give in, then guess what? That just creates resentment. And resentment is probably the number one thing that leads to affairs and divorce. So if that's what you want to create in your marriage, the likelihood for affairs and divorce, by all means, continue to force your spouse to do, like, because you want to do it. Instead, if you wait and negotiate until you can both enthusiastically say, yeah, you know what, I'm really okay with that. I'm good with that. I accept it. I agree. Then you are going at it, as I've mentioned several times before, like a team. Okay, so another thing is do not use an alternate solution. Instead, keep working, keep talking, keep discussing, even to the point of involving a third party, if to help see things objectively if you're just not coming to an understanding. So, for example, if one just wants to keep doing this and the other one just can't stand it and you've gone round and round and round about it, sometimes it can be okay if you both say, you know what, we trust the pastor. We're going to go talk to the pastor about it, and that pastor may have an objective, wise opinion that we both can agree that we will live with. And so then you go talk to him, because you've both agreed that you will listen to that wisdom. See what I mean? So keep on working until you reach a solution. And don't, if your spouse is just giving in, keep going at it. And not like harshly, but rather more like, yeah, I care. I want to keep going until we have something mutual, united, and we have an understanding. Okay. One suggestion and one example that I think you'll kind of help get the tone of what mutual united understanding is in the area of child discipline. Okay, so the two of you, your spouse and you, are individuals. So it is pretty likely that one day one of you will have a difference of opinion about a decision to discipline a child. So maybe one of you will think that you have to come down hard, right? And the other will think, no, we need to be a little gentle on them, or something, right? Sometimes it can be something like how to do the discipline. For example, one of you wants to put them in the corner, and the other one wants to give them a spanking. So in this one specific area, it's a great example. We suggest that the two of you agree, even now, if you want to do that you will always be a united front in front of the children, so that they do not go to dad and ask, and if dad says no, they come running to mom, and mom says yes. What we want to have is, like, if dad says no, you say, what did your dad say? Well, dad said no. Well, whatever your dad says goes, This shows respect to your spouse, and the two of you are on the same team, and they're not going to divide you. Okay? Now, let's say that you actually disagree. What did your dad say? He said no, and in your head you're thinking, oh, I would have said yes. Then what you do is, if you do disagree with your spouse, you be united in front of the children. Then you have the understanding between the two of you that if you do disagree, you would go to your spouse in the privacy of, like maybe your when you're alone, the kids are in bed or something, and you're going to use that time to explain your reasoning and to reach a consensus together. Again, you're not attacking your spouse. You're not telling them that they're stupid parents. Okay, that's not building, obviously, your marriage. And instead, what you're doing is, I just wanted to let you know that in this instance with Susie, I actually kind of disagreed with your decision to say no. And the reason I disagreed was because of X and Y and Z. And then you guys discuss it, and you reach the conclusion, oh, guess what? Let's say the parent who originally made the declaration, no, here's your reasons, and they think, oh, you have a really good point there. I should have said yes. Then guess what? That parent, the one who said no, the one who changed their mind, that is then the one who goes to the child and changes their declaration. This way, your discipline of the children is always the two of you together. You're a united front. The kids know they can't divide you, and you are supporting each other. You're respecting each other, because otherwise you're just cutting down your spouse's parental discipline and whatnot. If you're talking behind their back, changing their decisions, that's no good. Anyway, this way the kids are not playing you against each other and stuff, right? So, in a summary, we're going to use for this next step, we're going to use the mutually united understanding. We're going to ask a lot of questions. You're going to make sure you understand your spouse. You're going to keep on working at it until the both of you are united and you're a team on this, and you're both like, yay, let's go get this now. Let's do it now. And you're going to do it mutually. That is to say, you include your spouse. Your spouse is part of your life. Everything you do affects them. It's mutual. And the example that I gave was the example of the child discipline. Use that kind of technique of staying united, but if you do have a disagreement, I'm going to explain my reasons why, and can we talk about it till we're both satisfied? And even use that term. Can we have a moo about this? And then there you go. That's one really great tip on how to begin the steps of rebuilding. And you can see how that would be rebuilding in a positive way. You're building you're united. You're rebuilding an understanding of each other so that you can understand what your spouse is saying. You're repeating back, so make sure you understood and there's no confusion. And you're including your spouse. These are all good things for rebuilding after an affair. So thanks for listening. I hope this was helpful. And tune in again next week. We'll have another one up. Next week is going to be one of my favorites, actually. It's WTFS. And I'm not even going to tell you what that is. You'll have to turn in next week to find out. Thanks. Bye-bye.